Hello, hello, everybody. I love the amount of men we have on this call today. Human Touch, Stephen, Pernell, Rick. Nice to see you again, Rick.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to get to see you again, Stephen. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
We'll give it just another like 60 seconds to let people join us. Yay, this is exciting. We normally only have one or two men on our call. So I'm glad you guys decided to join us and share. I'm going to remind everybody right now to make sure that you stay muted until our sort of question and answer period. If you guys have a question that comes up and you just don't want to forget about it, go ahead and drop it in the chat. In fact, that helps us kind of keep everything in order who had a question first. But when I see the question in the chat, I'll go ahead and call on you to unmute yourself and ask the question. Or if you don't even want to write the question in the chat, you can just say that you have a question and I'll make sure you get called on. All right, it's 7:02, so we're going to get started. So this is our October Women in Music session. We have been doing this for almost a whole year, and I love it. So this one is another milestone for us. The first one was our first big one. And then the fact that it was 100% women on that call, that was a milestone. And now we have a new milestone. This is the most men we've had on the call. So I'm really happy to have you guys with us. And we have, today we are talking about resources in the community of female musicians. We have with us Jasmine Sandler and Candace Chun. And so I'm excited because what we have is Jasmine Sandler is helping women in music, and Candace Chun is helping girls in music. So the next generation that Jasmine's going to be helping. We have another partner who could not be with us tonight, but I just want to mention them, give them honorable mention, and that is Wave. And they are through Encore Global, which if you live here in Las Vegas, they are in charge of all the sound and lighting and rigging for all the events in our city, but they are a global company. So I'm not as well traveled as some people, but I can imagine that if they do in other cities what they do here, they almost have like a little monopoly on the game. Not because they're evil, just because they're really good at their jobs. But I am going to go ahead and drop a link to their Instagram in the chat. And the reason I'm mentioning them is because we're talking about resources, and they are offering now the company is called Wave Women in Audio Visual Events. However, the certificate is available to everyone. They're not discriminating, but it is a certificate that is free for events in live sound, again, rigging, also the administrative and production side of it. So events planning, coordinating, production managers, stage managers, and that certificate is free. And they tend to mind the population of people who take and pass that certificate for work. So if it's something that you've ever been interested in, go ahead and look. Like I said, you don't have to be female, but it is nice to have them focus on women, because very rarely do I get to work with female sound people, riggers. I could probably count on one hand how many times I've been in that situation. So we'd like to see more of us because we know we're out there and we're interested. But let me introduce you to who is here. So I mentioned Candace Chun. Candace Chun works with Girls Rock, which is a summer camp here in Las Vegas. That summer camp is focused on teaching girls to create and perform their own music, their original. So she is involved with helping these girls become artists, which not only makes them proficient in songwriting and their musicianship and performing, but also it's really good for their self-esteem. And we were talking earlier, and I said, what can you not do after you write a song? And so we'll be happy to hear from her. And we also have Jasmine Sandler. Jasmine,
Free Palestine.
Oh, okie doke.
Free Palestine, right?
Please go ahead and mute yourself until we come to the part of the event where we're going to go ahead and do question and answer. Thanks so much. So I'm going to ask Jasmine to unmute herself and tell us all that she does, because if I tried to run down the list, I would surely miss something.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, Shondell, thank you for running this. I know that you're working so hard to make this happen and support women in music, and it's a big deal. I'll just start by talking about one of my businesses, Warrior Women in Business, which is a women's media company where I bring female leaders across industry to support female entrepreneurs and female artists. It's my second business, but it's very important. And last week I'm in New York City. So last week I had the senior policy advisor for Mayor Eric Adams' Office of Cultural Affairs on my podcast in person. And it was really awesome. And I wanted to start introducing myself by talking about that, because we really got into it. We got into all the resources in New York City that are available to artists. My other business, JSMedia and JSM for Artists, supports branding and business development for artists overall. So it was really refreshing for me to have that conversation, to learn about the grants, the women's funds, access to public works, access to getting involved with symphonies in New York, and all of these basically monetary opportunities that are available for female artists that they just don't know about. So I feel like that was very eye-opening to me as not only a business owner, but I'm also a songwriter and a musician, an artist, and a front person. So to me, on both sides of me, I said, wow, like I didn't realize all of these things that are available. And I know that it's just not New York City, because my business is bi-coastal. I know that across the United States, there are grants, funding, opportunities, kind of across the board for artists. So it always puzzles me that women don't take advantage of these. And so a lot of what I do, I'm a business person first, kind of musician second, which actually is in my favor, because I teach at the Musicians Institute in Hollywood on artist branding and business development. And obviously as a woman, I'm very interested in helping women. So I have a podcast, I run a branding and marketing agency, and we just kind of actually expanded our branding and marketing agency to encompass all artists. So now we're working with actors, filmmakers, comic book artists, publishers. And the reason for doing that is, again, to help musicians, because I'm a musician, get sync opportunities. And that's actually a lot of what we do. We do branding advice, business advice, and sync support, because I think like music is so competitive, and I'm not a pop star. I'll never be one, you know? And so it's about, I find that a lot of the bands and artists that we work with, it's about like thinking different. Like this panel is so important, because it is about resources and understanding where they are and making sure that you know how to apply for those resources. So anyways, I'm Jasmine Sandler. My artist name is Jazz Rock. My main business is JS Media. My second business is Warrior Women in Business, and my band is Silent Fury. so
Hey Jasmine, I just had a question real quick.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, and we're going to go ahead and ask questions a little bit later, but go ahead and drop your question in the chat, because I want to make sure that we get to your question. It is important to us. And then I'm going to ask Candace to go ahead and unmute herself and tell us a little bit more about herself.
You just cut me off.
I did. I'm sorry. Okay, Candace, can you
Hi,
go ahead and tell us more about yourself?
Hi, yeah, so I'm a co-founder of Girls Rock Vegas, which is part of the Girls Rock Camp Alliance. We've been working in Vegas for the last 13 years. And what we do is we provide a summer camp to young women from ages 9 to 17. And they come and join us for 5 days. We teach them how to play an instrument. We teach them how to sing. and we teach them how to compose. So they write their own original piece, and at the end of the 5 days, they form a band and perform that piece. We also focus, as was mentioned earlier, on self-esteem, self-image, and getting the most positive feedback that we can get from the girls on themselves. We want them to be a well-rounded person, not just a well-rounded musician. I also work with another local organization called the Foundation to Assist Young Musicians, which isn't just for young women, it's for young women and men. In elementary and middle school, we provide affordable violin and cello lessons, as well as performances for young students. So they're getting opportunities in classical music as well. And that is pretty much tuition free. There is a suggested donation every month, but we don't turn away students from either program due to financial need.
That's beautiful. I always say you never know, where the next Celine Dion or Michael Jackson is somewhere, and all they need is an instrument, or all they need is an opportunity. I, if it's okay, would like to read some of the statistics that you sent me, some of the survey things that you sent me on what Girls Rock really does for these students. And this is a survey from 2012, 2016, and 2022. And sorry, Quinn, do you have that? Thanks. And this information is really interesting and awesome. So it says, one, over the past 13 years, girls' attitudes about women in music have changed. Coming into the camp, more girls now believe that girls can play music in a rock and roll band. This is a significant shift that has changed how camp impacts campers. Number two, it says body image impact has also changed. For the first 8 years of camp, we observed.
How's this for music? Free, free Palestine!
Do you have them, Quinn?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry about that interruption, everybody. It says the past 5 years of camp, we haven't observed the same magnitude of improvement. I'm not sure if it's because campers don't care as much about body image, or if countervailing social pressures are stronger now, but it's an interesting shift. And number three, it says the survey data also shows that camp now has the most impact on songwriting confidence, followed by academic confidence. That is amazing, because like you said, you're creating more well-rounded people. So I love that there was a shift from body image to their actual craft, their art that they're trying to perfect and learn about. And I feel like the first statement was probably the most profound. It includes, coming into camp, more girls now believe that girls can play in a rock and roll band. It just sounds really simple, but it's so important because they don't see themselves as often as men in rock and roll bands. And having run a school for rock and roll, I can tell you that 50-60% of the players in the band were female. And on instruments, not just singing, or not just piano, or the sort of like acoustic guitar, the things that were thought of when I was growing up as kind of girly. I mean, running it just as hard as their male counterparts, and really getting in there together. So I would like to ask the two of you a very basic question. When you guys were growing up, were there resources for you particularly, or did you have to just sort of like find other girls who were doing music?
I'll start. So I think for music in particular, I had a piano teacher who came to the house. I took private lessons. And I think all my resources came from my mom, who was involved with the Handel and Haydn Society. I have kind of a background in symphony. And so I think if it weren't for those opportunities through my family, I don't know if I would have had them otherwise, you know what I mean? So going to symphony, playing the piano. In school, we did have music class, but it really wasn't, I don't know, it really wasn't pushed. It wasn't, music and the arts weren't really pushed. It was more about academics, 100%. So I guess I didn't really have that that feeling, you know. So yeah, it was very different. It was like we were talking, you know, pre-panel. It was more actually about sports and academics where I'm from than music, really, you know, really wasn't pushed. So I think more like when you, because I was more in the suburbs, and so more in the main cities is where you would go for music and have those opportunities. But the suburbs, they really didn't have them that much. Now it's everywhere. It's wonderful. Yeah.
What about you, Candace?
And I had kind of a similar thing. It was for me, I had a very musical family. My mom and my uncles and my grandpa were a mariachi ensemble and called the Acapulco Trio. And so I grew up with my mom singing, and she was always really big into music. And same thing, was really pushed for academics. But there wasn't really resources here in Vegas. I had mostly my school programs. My mom was a single mom raising 3 kids. And so the opportunities were few and far between because I couldn't afford lessons. She would pay for some of my lessons when I started getting really serious about playing. Um, but I worked over the summers in a music shop to help subsidize those lessons. And there just wasn't the amount of youth groups around now that there are, which is why I'm so passionate about things like Girls Rock, because those opportunities didn't really exist. I'm so glad they do now.
I love that you're able to be a part of that too. So can you tell us, Jasmine, because you've got some really awesome stuff coming up, and I want to go ahead and share that. And as you're talking about that, I'm going to go ahead and drop your links in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead, because I know somebody was messaging me. I'm not much for doing 20 things at once. So
and I will
thank
drop
you.
these in here a few times throughout the chat, and the same for Candace with Girls Rock, you guys. And what I also want you to do, because you know, a lot of our channels at Music Alliance are career coaching channels. This could be considered one too, but this one is also a community. So if you guys know of resources in your community for girls who want to be involved in music, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I would love to share them.
Okay, so what would you like me to answer? Sorry.
So you've got, let's see, I just dropped in the chat. We've got JSM for artists now servicing all artist types. We've got for musicians only. We've got
no. So yeah, so previously JSM for artists was just serving musicians, but now we're doing, especially in New York, doing a lot with all of the arts, which open up opportunities for the musicians.
Okay, got it.
Involved with projects across the spectrum of the arts.
Awesome.
And so I can talk about that a little bit if you like.
Can you please, and then can you tell us a little bit about Warrior Women?
Yeah, of course. So, well, let me talk about JSM for artists first. So my business has been around since 2006, a branding and marketing agency, primarily for executives and companies. And I was just sick and tired of seeing artists struggle, just completely, as a musician. And I do a lot of songwriting to defeat these problems, if you listen to my music. But anyway, so I started JSM for artists, really for musicians, because I was tired of them going in the wrong direction and not making money. And honestly, it's not just musicians, it's all artists and it's entrepreneurs, a lot of the people that come to me. So that division was just for musicians, branding, business, worked for them. And then, you know, I realized like pretty quickly, because I got brought on as a teacher at Musicians Institute, that the opportunities that they were really seeking were more like, how can we use our music in multiple applications? So as an example, one of the songs that I wrote is in these like casual video games online, right? Small money, but that might be nice for an emerging artist, right? So I thought, if I can start to build relationships with other sectors in the arts, then when I'm working with an artist and I hear something, maybe I can bridge that into a film opportunity, right? Or especially here, like Broadway, all the things we have going on culturally in New York City. So JSM for artists now is really bringing actors, filmmakers, Broadway shows, kind of bringing everybody together, helping everyone, not just in the branding and business advice, but also really as just plainly enough a connector, you know, connecting people to projects and opportunities. It's a big effort, believe me, and but it's very exciting. So that's JSM for artists. Warrior Women in Business started because I was I'm a keynote speaker on social branding, and I've been that for a very long time. So I was speaking to an all-female audience, and I found that they were very hungry for what I was saying and the action that I was sharing. And so I said, you know what? I want to start some type of podcast. This was like in 2016. And so I started this podcast. It was called Wonder Woman in Business. And then that kind of got shunned by Warner Brothers, which was fine. So we changed it to Warrior Women in Business. And Warrior Women in Business primarily is helping female entrepreneurs and female artists get the education that they need from female leaders. So a lot, and I've been the president of 2 national women's organizations. It's not like I'm new. So Warrior Women in Business, to me, the way it's different is it's helping artists too. So what I do is, like I was mentioning to Shondell, I'm constantly running events in New York where I'll bring in, as much as I can, female artists into a corporate setting or an event setting so they get visibility, you know? So I feel like I can do that because I'm giving them this platform where, again, I'm all about like career opportunities, as you said. So helping these artists get those career opportunities. So I do the podcast. My business is bi-coastal. So I try to find female leaders in LA and the surrounding areas in New York. So I've had the CMO of Guitar Center on my podcast. I do a lot of things. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm a speaker at NAM, and I'm involved with NAM Women, and I'm sure you are too, Shondell. And NAM, very supportive, like such a great community. So I found that I've met like the coolest women through NAM Women and through just speaking at NAM. And now, you know, I'll go back and I have a bunch of friends, and, you know, so I'm just very involved in the music industry, and everybody says, how can you do all these things? And I'm like, well, they all fit together to me. They all come together. It's like I'm always thinking, how can I bring in music? How can I support artists? It's always on my mind as I'm doing everything with my business. And I think that a lot of business people, they don't think that way. You know, they're just too business driven and they don't give the arts the support that it needs. So it's kind of like my own personal mission to equalize that.
I love that you talk about making it so synergistic and everything working together. I feel like it's the only way. People, you know, always wonder, like, how can I get it all done? And it just, if it doesn't work together, it doesn't work, pretty much. So,
you're right.
Yeah. So and that's why we're here. Thanks for putting me on to NAM Women, looking it up, checking it out. Thank you.
Oh my God, what? You have to come to a meeting.
I will.
Yeah, I'll have to invite you into the committee the next time out in LA. But yeah, it's wonderful, NAM Women, and NAM just in general. I mean, it has such, like, it's so historic, and they've really embraced women. And also, I mean, I'm a member of like pretty much every group. Like, She Is the Music, I'm involved. Women in Music, I'm going to an event tomorrow night here in New York with Amazon Music and Women in Music.
I'd love to connect with Women in Music. I reached out to them, and I would love to connect to them and see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, they honestly, if I were in LA, which is my goal, they have such a presence, you know? But in New York, it's so light. Okay. So I keep saying, like, put me on the board, get me involved. So that's why I'm going tomorrow. Because they just, you know, it's very LA based. It's not really New York based.
The reason why it's so light in New York, did it just start in LA?
I don't know. I mean, same with the Guild. I mean, I'm also a member of the Guild of Music Supervisors, and it's every day I get emails to come to an event, and I'm like, it's all in LA. So I'm trying my hardest to get some things going in New York. New York's just a different beast, you know. It's more Broadway-esque.
We know.
Yeah.
We know. Let me ask Candace. Candace, can you unmute yourself? And what I would like to know is how Girls Rock started.
Sorry, it takes a second on my phone here. So Heather found out about Girls Rock through the Girls Rock Camp Alliance, which is an international coalition. Girls Rock started, I believe in Portland. I may be wrong, Portland, Oregon, but it's grown to hundreds of camps. And so what ended up happening was our founder, our executive director here in Vegas, Heather Rampton, went to a Girls Rock Camp Alliance meeting after hearing about this and seeing the Girls Rock movie. She's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Heather and I are both graduates of our local performing arts school here at Las Vegas Academy. And so she found out about this. She's like, I want to do it. And she was like, who could I call? And she called me and she said, you know, I have this crazy idea. And I want to do this. And I said, you know what? That's awesome. I'm so in, because I am a music educator. I'm in my 19th year of teaching. And I teach music to middle high school students here in the Valley. But so we called local schools. We hosted it at an elementary school the first year, and we started with, I think it was probably 15 campers, and it just grew. It grew. We social media, word of mouth, students coming back. We have returning campers who went year after year and ended up becoming camp counselors now. They're helping out and they're spreading that mission to the next generation, which I think is probably our biggest achievement. To see those girls growing up into powerful young women leaders and seeing, saying, this is what happened to me. This is how I became a better person and a better musician through these experiences at Girls Rock and being able to share that message. So I'm really glad to say, like, we were even able to keep this going post pandemic, and get this message out to these girls.
Thanks for sharing that with us. I am gonna, just because I want to, of course, learn and share from each other, I'm gonna open up for questions. Please go ahead and drop your questions or your comments in the chat. And I am gonna actually call on, is it Shawnee Stone? Did I say that right? Shawnee Stone?
Yes, yes, yes.
Nice to meet you. My nickname is Shawnee too. I'm Shondell.
Okay, well, thank you guys. I received the link today, and I was trying to find out exactly what was this group meeting about.
Okay, so this is our Music Alliance's
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to leave out this room because
okay.
I got to get somewhere a little bit more quieter. Excuse me.
Understood.
Okay, I'm listening.
So Shawnee, this is our Women in Music channel at Music Alliance. Music Alliance has career coaching channels, and our other ones are on sync licensing, booking, marketing, and a tech one that's more focused on digital audio workstations. But Women in Music, we wanted to be more of a community. So obviously there is some help here for careers. Like obviously these resources are very good, but just really learning and sharing with each other about women in the industry. What sparked it was, finding out what we at Music Alliance could do for women in the community, and our founder looking up some statistics on how many there were, and the statistics saying that there were only 17.2% of us in the 17.2% of professional musicians in the industry were female. And we know that's not even accurate. And if it was accurate at one time, if you look at the girls who are entering music in all different capacities right now, we are turning into the majority. Soon enough, it will be the majority. So just, making sure there's education, there's resources, that we lift and prop each other up. Just hearing stories from like Jasmine and Candace on what they're doing that can possibly give others ideas on what they can do. And just look at somebody that's, parallel to you, that's doing something awesome, who is female in music.
So what's your name? Because I came in a little late, so I don't even know your name.
My name is Shondell, and I'm the host of the Women in Music channel. And I'm also the events coordinator at Music Alliance. And
okay.
You said that you're an entertainment director.
I am. I wanted to enlighten you guys a little bit about my profession as well. I am an entertainment director, model, actress, and community activist. I have an organization. I work with, I live in Illinois, so we have aldermen and mayors here, and I work with them, actively work with the community members as well. So what my mission is, to able and provide a platform as well for individuals to utilize in order to showcase their specific skills and or talents. And I don't mind uniting with other like-minded women, musicians, as well as entertainers, to able us to impact society as a whole and to share our resources so someone else that maybe have a vision or a skill, they can get more resources to utilize them in their career choices or their artwork or whatever skills that they may have.
Awesome. Do you have information for us that you can drop in the chat, or at least your contact information? You could, if you want, you can DM me, but I'd love to connect with you and talk about that.
I absolutely, like I said before, potential partnership is something that is very influential for me, because even you allowing us to understand the stats on the discovery, even understanding what's out here globally in various states, to able us to be able to showcase or helps the next artist.
Right.
So it's unfortunately that they don't even have the proper statistics on women musicians. However, I know for past experience with working as an entertainment director, it's a variety of talent among a global ethnic cultural groups. So it doesn't really matter. It's just not being able to showcase is one thing that hinders individuals. Because of the COVID pandemic, actually, you have your strengths, you have your weaknesses as well. And one of the, of course, we know the weaknesses of COVID. However, it is a strength, and because I have noticed that it's a spectrum of people that work in the entertainment industry that most of us would never even be able to access. Because of that, because of COVID, we are able now to get on social networks. We're able to get our podcast going. We're able to use all of the different social networks and able to, for people to understand, to brand ourselves and to get our talents and our music out there. So that is one of the strengths to it.
That's a really good point. I definitely think, Shawnee, that, when the world got quiet and, we weren't able to be out there performing and mixing up with each other, a lot of people kind of went into themselves and, created a lot of music, and they did a lot of discovery online and organized communities and got information, because what else was there to do except better ourselves, right? And learn things. So that's a really good point. I'm going to move on to the next person, but I really want you to go ahead and put your information in the chat, Shawnee. I would love to connect with you and talk more.
Not a problem, Ms. Shandell. Before you go, if not, is it okay for me to drop my my network names as well as my link?
Absolutely. Please.
I thank you. I appreciate that, Ms. Shandell. Thank you.
Thank you. You take care. All right, let's see. There's a lot of information in the chat. I love it. Maria Midbow. And she's been. Hi.
How are you?
Good. You got questions or comments or both?
This is my first time catching this. I guess because it's a different time zone. I'm in Atlanta, so I was getting ready for bed, and all of a sudden I got the text, and I was like, I've been meaning to join that Music Alliance.
Hey.
So I just signed up today. So I'm reading on the website about everything, but basically I'm an IT professional with over 23 years of experience who recently rediscovered my love for music and playing music during COVID, of course. So I've built myself a little home studio. My mother forced me to take piano starting when I was 6 years old. So I'm classically trained in piano, and then got to college and it just kind of fell off the map. I had other things. I didn't concentrate on it. and then rediscovered it during COVID, and now I'm going crazy with it. And my studio is growing. I mainly play synthesizers and electronic music, and I just started taking some sync music classes. So I'm an aspiring sync composer. So that's what I'm trying to. I want to get out of IT gradually and start trying to do that full time, and trying to be positive and making connections on LinkedIn. So I thought this would be a good place to join the community here. I want to go to NAMM in January. I used to sell musical instruments. I used to work at a music store. I used to work at a record store. So music's always been in my life, and I'm glad I rediscovered it. So now I'm just trying to figure out what to do next.
Well, we have so first of all, thanks for sharing all of that with us, Maria. I feel like a lot of people are in your same position. Actually, Shawnee was just saying something similar about what happened during COVID. A lot of people just sort of rediscovered themselves and fell back in love with music. We have a sync coaching channel here on Music Alliance. And so I'm glad you joined us, and we'll make sure that when our next sync session is. But Jasmine, I know that you are doing something with sync licensing. Did you want to talk to Maria a little bit?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. So it's a little bit different than the standard sync agent. So with my business, we bring together projects. So when we're working with bands or artists in coaching, in business and branding coaching, we'll look to see if they have something that's compelling for one of our projects, like whether it's in comic book publishing or it's in. I actually spoke with somebody. Today's such a long day. Somebody on Broadway today. They have a new Broadway show coming out, and they need music, and it's rock, and I'm like, okay, this is where I connect the dots. So
Yes.
in that sense, I'm a little bit different. I'm actually friends with a lot of the big sync people like Mark Frazier and those folks, and I refer business out to them because what I do is a little JSM for artists, a little bit different. It's more of branding and business coaching, and then we find opportunities for artists.
Cool.
Versus like a music X-ray, and I know all those guys. You know what I mean? Like we refer business all the time.
Yeah,
So
sweet.
yeah, that's what we do anyway. So that's helpful.
Awesome. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see who else is in the chat with questions or comments. See, Wayne is leaving us, but Wayne is from my hometown of Buffalo, New York, where Rick James comes from. And he says he will pass the word on to his wife, who's a veteran teacher and works with STEAM at her school. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Wayne. Glad you were able to join us for a little bit. I know he had to sign off because it's late in Buffalo. It says, can we have your contact info, please? I'm not sure who you're speaking to specifically, Wayne, so I'm gonna put everybody's stuff in there. Shawnee's contact info is in there. Lee Mann, I'm also interested in sync. Can you tell us a little bit about Music Alliance's sync programs and or coaching and what you offer for sync? So let me tell you quickly, our coach is Dave Rogers for that channel. And he has done a 6-session workshop, if you will, on preparing your music for sync. So part of it was about making sure it's formatted correctly, making sure it's protected first and foremost, music libraries, the process of submitting and sort of like submission etiquette and all those things. If you're a member with us, we can actually make sure that you have access to the last 6 sessions. He's got one more coming up in November, and he's also going to be on with us next Wednesday to talk about content creation with Chris Kinney. So we have a ton of stuff going on when it comes to sync. So stay with us, continue to come to the sessions. Make sure you get into a sync session. Make sure you take advantage of Jasmine's resources, which I'll drop in the chat again. And yeah, we'd love to just keep talking to you about it and see where you're taking it. Let's see, Antoinette says, thank you, ladies. That's been quite informative. Rock on, everybody. We're going to rock on. Camry Charnay McGee's 26 years old and located in Encino. I have no idea how I can contribute or benefit from these programs. Camry, unmute yourself. I want to talk to you. You there, Camry? No. Camry, if you get a chance, go ahead and unmute yourself in the meantime. Oh, it won't let you? Oh no. Let's see. Let's see if I send you a little request, if it'll allow you to unmute. But I wanted to find out what you're up to so we can tell you how you can be involved or contribute. If you're unable to join vocally, go ahead and just drop your questions in the chat. But we know your song, right? It won't let me. Oh no. Quinn, do you know what's going on with that?
I'm not certain. I've requested to her to unmute, but I don't know if her phone is messing up. You want to just give a synopsis of like what we offer?
Yeah, I mean, just what I had mentioned before is our career coaching channels. I just didn't know if she had any questions specifically for Jasmine or Candace. If she was looking for herself, if she wanted to talk about young women in music, or if she was interested in the Girls Rock Alliance, which I am interested in. If you get a chance, Candace, after the call, because I know you're on your phone, if you get a chance to drop us a link at Music Alliance, just an email to Girls Rock Alliance, I'd love to have it and share with people. And we can share in our Slack channel. Kind of. Oh, okay, Camry, we get it. Well, I kind of need a job and I want to break into the industry. Jasmine, what kind of advice would you give her?
Oh my God, that's a huge question.
That's a big question. It's a loaded
Yeah, it
question.
doesn't matter though, I can handle it.
Okay.
So, depends on what you want to do. So I have a course which Shondell dropped in the chat, I think. I don't know. I'm really not looking at the chat. It's too much
I'm
going on.
dropping it again right now.
Yeah, thanks. So I teach artist branding and business development for career development at Musicians Institute. It's a short course. So what I did is I took the course, I expanded it. It's on Udemy. It's like, I don't even know what discount I gave you guys, but it's like pennies. And it's worth thousands. And I'm just saying that I've done all the research. And I would say the first thing is you have to decide what you want to do in the industry so you can be focused. That's number one, So I offer an internship program at my agency. Really, that's what it's intended for, is to help like young people identify what they want to do in the industry and then groom them there. I quickly find out what their strengths are. Pretty easy. I've been doing it for a really long time. So I think number one is like identify what you want to do in the industry. There's so much to do in the industry. I think I found like 22 different career tracks that I explain in my course that you could go and get involved in. So I think that's number one, and what like resonates with you. And then if you have no relationships in the industry, I won't use the word mentor because it's very cliche. I would say instead you should, you know what I'm saying, Shondell? So I think that you should start going to events in the industry like you're here right now. Listening is half the battle. I find that the people that succeed in life listen the most. So, it's definitely up to you to find out, what you're interested in by going to events, educating yourself. And that's why I teach to identify what it is you want to do, what makes sense for you. You have to have a plan, because you can't just like go out there and say, I want to break into the industry and not really have a plan. There's so many opportunities. So I think that's really number one for career development, and then once you understand what you want to do, you have to hone your skills, and that's about getting a job. That's why I have an internship program. Who wants to work for free? People that want to work hard and find what they want to do, and then they want to build profitable careers. And I did it, and I think that my personal thing is like, I think everybody should do it. So reading, getting educated, meeting people, talking to people. Like at NAMM, when I spoke at NAMM, there were people like literally sitting on the floor at my talk. It was so awesome. It was packed because people want to learn, and that's what the workshop was about. So it's like you gotta educate yourself and get involved, and then you'll find your way. That's what I have to say.
Awesome. hopefully Camry can join us again one of these other times when she can talk to us. But I really want to pick her brain and see what she's up to, because I'm nosy mostly. Let's see. Kelly says, thanks, such a pleasure. She's a Berkeley grad, songwriting and vocal coach, and singer-songwriter, guitarist in Nashville. Like we said, New York is a different beast. Nashville is a whole nother beast. Kelly, can you unmute yourself?
Hey everyone.
Hi, Kelly. What are you doing out there in Nashville?
I'm just coming back from seeing a show. I'm out a lot listening to people.
I feel like that's a really important part of it. Like, no matter how, hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Like, no matter how good you get at your instrument and your art, like going out to see other people and just seeing what's up, not to like necessarily do what's happening or copy, or, but just, you know, surround yourself with music and continue to have like that musical input.
Yeah, I've been here for about a year now. I'm from the Northeast, went to Berkeley and Boston. I spent about my first at least 4 months just going out and listening and meeting people and doing nothing else. And it was such, and I think it really speaks to what we're doing here is, because I tend to be quite assertive in my goals, and I decided to kind of, flip my game a little bit and just absorb. And like Jasmine was just saying, just listen, just meet people. Don't ask anyone for anything. Particularly in new environments, and I don't mean don't go after your goals, but anyway, yeah, it's really been it's been great. I've met a lot of people just going out. I've kind of made it my job to just go out and meet people and listen to people and support them.
Nice. Thanks for sharing with us.
Sure.
Candace, I wanted to ask you, what do the girls ask you after camps? I know, you know, right now they're probably just focused on continuing to come back to Girls Rock Camp. And then probably, I'm sure it's a big goal of everybody's to like be a camp counselor and continue that culture. But what do they ask you about the industry, or are they asking you about the industry?
We do have some conversations sometimes. We don't focus so much on that as we focus more on the girls internally. But we do try to provide them some resources. So things like this panel are super beneficial, where we can have these communities and conversations. For the most part, like I said, it's school age students. So most of the resources that we give them are academic focused and academic based. We talk about other, programs that last throughout the year, during the school year, because our program is only offered during the summer. So yeah, like I said, it's mostly academic. There's not so much of the full adult career aspect for them as it is just those resources.
Nice. And again, me with the spitballing, but I would love to possibly put together some snippets from our career coaches in case your girls had any questions about, in case any of them wanted to try and enter the industry. And with kids, I feel like they need to know too that there's so many parts of the industry that they could enter, because everybody just thinks immediately rock star, but there's so many parts of the business that they could go into and make money and not have to do the whole starving artist thing. And
yes, definitely.
And available, and that will jive with their parents too, because that's the hard part. It's not that
exactly
easy to sell your mom on Rockstar, but you might be able to sell dad on,
Well, I was able to sell my mom on Music Teacher, but the Rockstar thing was a no-go. But yeah, I think that would be an amazing resource for our students. Our girls would absolutely love that.
That sounds
so. Thank you for that.
All right, I'm filing it to the back for future use. And when is your camp taking place this year?
Our camp is usually held in June. We usually are at a local school, so it depends on scheduling with the school. We finish after their graduation ceremonies. But we've been hosting the last couple of years at the Delta Academy, which is a local charter school here in Vegas.
And so you guys
we've had several locations.
Academy then, right?
Huh?
The Rap Academy for Performing Arts?
Oh yeah, I've heard of them too.
So they're operating out of Delta. So I will make sure to introduce you guys, because they have music rooms set up. They have their trailers are set up in the back. They've got 2 production
Yes.
studios and they've got 2 rehearsal rooms, and you all should know each other.
We do, and we do offer, because Delta hosts us, we do offer scholarships for those Delta Academy students that are interested. So we have that partnership, and it's strong, and we're glad to have them.
That's beautiful. All right, you guys, we are nearing the end of our time. Let's see, we have dropped Jasmine's links in a couple times. We have dropped in the Girls Rock link and the call to action to be a member with us. We are doing it for $6 a month right now for sign up, but it is going up at the beginning of the year. So please jump in there and take advantage of these conversations that we're having. Let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody's questions before we move on. Oh, Camry says she wants to intern. I missed that one. No, oh, here we go. Steven's actually joined us before on Women in Music. Steven, unmute yourself. Are you in Seattle too?
I am. Who else is in Seattle?
No, I just love Seattle. I used to go there and perform quite often, and thought I might even go and move there, and then I decided not to. It's too cold. I grew up in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, now that it's late October, it's getting cold. I'm sitting in storage right now, freezing.
Steven is a song composer, singer, 12 years in film and TV crew, degree in audio engineering, songwriter, selling gear. Steven, is there stuff that you're not doing?
I'm not making money doing any of it. That's the problem. I've always done it. More as a freelancer or as an independent. So.
Okay. So you joined us today. What prompted you to join the Women in Music chat today?
Well, you guys send me links all the time, and I just happen to click on today's link, and I'm going, "What is this? Oh, it's Women in Music. Oh, cool." Yeah. I used to actually be a member. Yeah, I used to be a member of Women in Film here in Seattle. We have a group called Women in Film.
So is it just that you're interested in like what we have going on, because Quinn is sending you emails and texts, and Quinn's doing a great job at his job, or are you like, you seem
exactly
interested in women's community?
Yeah, I've shown up for a number of your events, in Zoom. So I just wanted to see what this one's about today. I wasn't sure exactly what you guys are going to do, but I think it's cool that you're building community.
But you mentioned that you were part of the Women in Film group at one point.
Yep.
And I just was asking, you seem to be interested in women's communities, and I just wanted to hear what you thought about that, why you were joining our communities. We're happy to have you, but I just wanted to know why.
Well, we need to all work together. Women and men together.
Easy and simple, flat out.
Yep.
I love it. Thanks for joining, Stephen. Oh, here, we got a new message. These links are wonderful. My name is Yazara. Did I say that right, Yazara?
Yeah.
Yay.
Pardon me. Yazara, nice to meet you guys.
Yazara. Okay.
Yeah. Pleasure. This has been wonderful. It's not very often that I get to be in a room with people who are eager to share information and understand. If I light your candle, that doesn't, put mine out. This has been a wonderful opportunity to hear. And I haven't asked any questions because so many people are on the same wavelength and are looking for the same things: sync licensing, opportunities to give back, community. And most importantly, for years, I've been looking for community, despite the fact that you can be in the orbit of the music industry and still not have community. You can have credits and still not have community. And I think we're all in a space now where we need to figure out spaces and places to create high art together that influences culture, but also doesn't make us disavow poverty. And it's great to be in a space with people who are about that. And I don't know too many people in here, but I've came to allow myself to say without being afraid, please utilize me as an artist. I'm still new to being in community with other artists. So thank you. Bye. I'm gonna stop
Yazara,
video.
wait, don't go yet. What? So you're saying you're new to being in community with other artists. What do you think contributed to that being more of a new development instead of something that you had always done?
I think it's very easy to get into your own cocoon of working specifically alone. Also, as a woman who's worked in the industry and started very early with very, very well awarded artists, sometimes finding spaces where one treats you like an equal and in concert with your gifting, in concert with the work that you're bringing and the value you're bringing. There's a lot of, you should be grateful for this space when you're bringing value to the space, specifically in spaces for women and women of color. So having a safe space to allow oneself to glow and not be suppressed while one does so. I wouldn't say they're few and far between now, but just as you were reading the stats about how many girls are in bands, you know, I joined my first live band in high school. I'm a proud graduate of Duke Ellington School of the Arts. It definitely changed my life. I would not be here had it not been for it. I met the two gentlemen who would end up being my best friends and connect me with Erykah Badu at 18 from being at Duke Ellington School of the Arts. However, there were not any really distinct opportunities for women to be in communion making art together. There was a lot of competition, and that was fostered, but not the type of competition that was nation building. So yes, being here is very affirming because I knew it to be possible. It's just that in the past, I think pre-COVID, we didn't have these spaces saying, hey, I need to find my tribe for my sanity. So I thank you for creating a safe space for women and women of color. It means a whole lot to see you here in this space. And you know, I'm just grateful. I'm glad to be out the closet with my desire to be in community.
Yeah.
And artists here, you know, I'm on Instagram. I would love to know your Instagrams and be utilized by you in space with art. So
Nice.
thank you for allowing me to speak my mind today.
Thank you. Thank you for contributing. Everybody, please feel free to go ahead and drop your Instagram info, all your socials in the chat. Again, we want to continue this conversation. Make sure you use up Jasmine. Make sure you use up Candace. We'll make sure that they have access to the Slack channel in case you have questions for them. And Yazara wants to be used up productively as well. And I love it. Yeah, I think a lot of the industry is based on sort of scarcity marketing and FOMO. And that's not what we're marketing toward audiences. It's what we're marketing toward artists. So yeah, definitely, like you said, some of that scarcity is fostered and promoted and can sometimes bring out the worst in people. And I love that we're here not tearing each other down or running over each other for opportunities, but telling each other how to get opportunities and fellowshipping with each other. So yay, thanks, Maria. Thanks, Ms. Shaw. Love. Thanks, everybody here. Let me drop mine in there too. I don't want to miss out. Hold on. So we are at the end of our session. I wanted to give Candace a chance to give us any parting words. Candace, did you have anything you wanted to tell the women and men in this group specifically about the power of strengthening young girls and teaching them about themselves through music?
I mean, as musicians, we have such an incredible gift and an incredible, you know, message that we can spread with others. And I know that I wouldn't be here today, quite literally, if not for music and for the adults in my life that shaped me as a youngster, getting into the music scene and being able to have those opportunities. So if you can find opportunities to reach out, a lot of our communities have these struggling programs that are wanting to make this difference. So if you can find those opportunities to reach out and become part of those communities and shape that next generation, you can change lives. So I applaud you all for reaching out to not only better your own craft, but to create these networks, to create these safe spaces and communities for all of us to be better.
Thank you, Candace. Jasmine, did you have parting words for us?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for hosting this and being so patient with everyone, Shondell. Great job. I have to say that. And for Quinn for managing the chat. I run webinars and it's never easy. So kudos to you guys. It's hard work.
Thank
And thanks for everybody for being on. So yeah, I have a few things to say. First of all, the reason I started Warrior Women in Business was really to stop competition amongst women and to really help women collaborate. And I think it was Stephen, right, in Seattle or something. It was talking about men being and women working together. A lot of the men that have been my clients, executive clients, I found because they've been leaders on women's boards at major companies. So definitely men and women need to work together, and it's no different, especially in the music industry. So for me in New York, it's a dog eat dog world every single day. And if you're not thinking collaboration, you're not open-minded, it just doesn't work. You have to develop relationships, even if everything moves like this. And I think, connecting men and women supporting each other, women supporting other women, getting involved with projects and not dropping the ball. I don't know what it's like in other states or cities, but it's like, don't drop the ball. If you get an opportunity, like grab it, So I think that's really, really important. That's a lot of what I kind of teach to my audiences, to my clients, is really about finding the opportunities and running with them. And I think in saying that there are a lot of opportunities. It's just you got to figure out what your lane is, So if any of you do visit New York, I'm here like 80% of the time, 20% on the West Coast. JSM for Artists and Warrior Women in Business. We do have events, generally like VIP exclusive events, but I'm also a resource for other events that go on here in New York. So, just reach out. She dropped the links. Definitely follow my music. My music is all about making societal and economic change in the world. And I use the music for good. And so music is very important to me. But I think moreover, helping artists, I always say monetize the talents that they have is very important, because in New York every day I see people begging for change and they're like Tchaikovsky. It's like ridiculous. So that's what drives me. So I think you just have to put your business cap on, And this has been wonderful. This is my second panel, right?
Yeah.
And more than happy to do more things with Music Alliance. I think it's a great organization. So.
All right. We've been talking about that jam. We got to make that a reality.
Yeah.
If nothing else. And it's interesting what you're saying about seeing musicians on the street in New York begging for money. I was thinking the same thing when Stephen was talking. One of my favorite things to do is go down to Pike's Market, and there's so many super talented musicians, like full on Dixieland jazz band, killing it with a hat out in front of them.
People ask me to busk all the time, and I'm like, no way, not doing, never. I will not do it. You know what I mean? And I take them and I say, this is why you shouldn't do it.
Right.
I want to raise their value. So I'm like against it. I want to take them all off the street and help them.
Saving musicians one at a time.
Yeah, at least New York.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off, everybody. All the information is in the chat. If you missed any of that information, go ahead and reach out to us, email us, text us. We love talking to you guys, and we will make sure that you get Candace and Jasmine's info, as well as everybody else. I have copied and pasted all of your information, so I'll be reaching out, talking to people. It's your own fault. You gave me your info, but looking forward to talking to everybody, and we will see you. Actually, when we'll see everybody next, if you care to join on Wednesday, we have a really awesome session coming up with our marketing channel host and our sync channel host. And we also have a really fun influencer coming on, and it's going to be about creating content to help market your music. So we hope to see you guys on that at 7 p.m. on November 1st. And we will be doing our next Women in Music session the last Wednesday of November, and we will see everybody soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.